So I've been watching the Scream movies over the last few days, and this movie has a higher body count than the entirety of those movies combined. Like, this isn't even a horror film, but sometimes it kind of feels like it. Hello everyone, welcome back to another 3D Reviews. Today we are looking at Titanic, the 25th 4K 3D re-release. The 25th re-release? You know, I think eventually we'll get to that point. What I mean, the 25th anniversary re-release of the Titanic. It came out in 1997, blew audiences away. We're in the money, and it's coming out again in 2023 to maybe do the same thing again. I don't know how well it did when it got re-released the first time in 3D. I think it did decently well, but that was only because that was the first time it had been released in theaters since its original release. We are back again. It's going to be in theaters for 2 weeks, I hear, in 3D and 4K, but not high frame rate, because they decided at the last second not to do that. Everyone knows what this movie's about. I don't really have to go down it. You got Rose, you got Jack, and they fall in love, and then the ship sinks, and that's the movie. This is also another 3-hour-long movie from James Cameron. It's very interesting because the first half is like a love story, and then the second half is an action movie, so everybody gets what they want. I think that's why it's such a crowd pleaser. When this shit starts really hitting the fan, you feel the intensity and like the horror of the situation. And I don't know if this was like due to the 3D or the XD, or if it's just the way the movie was designed and shot and filmed by James Cameron, but you feel the intensity, like this horrible, dire situation, and it really puts you there in the action. So you feel like you're at the edge of your seat, like you're gonna drown and freeze to death at any moment. It's just a very well-made movie, and I don't think anybody, even people who don't like this movie, can deny that. So this is the second re-release of Titanic, and the second time that it's been released in 3D. I believe the difference this time was 4K. Like I mentioned, it was supposed to be high frame rate, but at the last second they decided not to do that, which, fair enough, that's fine. I'm not crying that we didn't get a high frame rate Titanic. Whew! I know there's an audience out there for high frame rate, and I know some of that audience is in my audience, but I think 24 frames per second is enough frames per second. But I actually do have the 3D Blu-ray for this movie. Here it is, and this movie is so long, in fact, that it is on 2 discs. Got your part 1 disc, part 2 disc. Also, nice disc art, by the way. This is a movie that needs to be seen on a big screen. Whether it's in a large format theater like XD, or if it's just on a regular theater screen, you really should see it in a theater. But if you don't get the opportunity to do that, you can always get the 3D Blu-ray version and experience the 3D there, as they didn't do any alterations to that. It is just that original version. I was kind of hoping that they might add a little bit more instead of just doing a flat re-release. I know it's upscaled to 4K, whatever. It would have been nice if they actually added in some of the deleted scenes from the original Titanic and like done that in 3D, but I guess that was asking too much. I mean, this was already a really weird re-release to do anyway. I don't know who was particularly clamoring for a Titanic re-release, especially considering, I know this is sacrilege for this channel, especially considering the only way to see this movie is in 3D. There are no 2D screenings of this movie, which I disagree with. I think even if you wanted the majority of screenings to be in 3D, some of them should have still been in 2D, because not everyone can watch 3D movies. What if you're somebody that really likes Titanic, but 3D movies gives you a headache or it makes you nauseous? Then you kind of shit out of luck, and then I guess you can stay home and watch it. But like I said, this is a movie that deserves to be seen on the big screen. And speaking of big screens, this was my first ever Cinemark XD movie. The XD is a pretty good format, I'm not gonna lie. I thought the sound system was really nice. I thought the screen size was decently nice. Maybe not as big as IMAX, but it's still a respectable size. and this movie I don't even think is getting released in IMAX, but it is getting a 4DX release, so if I'm feeling up to it, I might go watch it again, but it is a huge time sink. And I don't want to go in the 4DX theater and then like the doors lock and airtight and then the water starts rising up when the ship sinks. Like, I don't know if I can handle that. Let's talk about the 3D, okay? I'm talking about everything but the 3D, and the whole point of this video is the 3D. 3D's good. Keep in mind that this conversion was released in 2012, and by those standards, this movie is an absolute masterclass in 3D conversion. Like, it is so well done. Every single frame. If you didn't know it was converted, you might not know it was converted. You might have assumed that it was shot natively like that. There was a lot of effort and time into painstakingly making every single frame as absolute stereo accurate as it could possibly be. It is like as perfect as a conversion can get. As James Cameron put it, he considers this a 2.5D movie. Because, I mean, it wasn't shot natively in 3D, but this is as close as he could get it. And considering the time when this movie came out, it must have just blown everyone's mind, because conversions did not look this good. Like, conversions were kind of getting to the point where we were able to do them consistently well, but they did not look this good. Even by today's standards, this conversion is very clean. It is sharp, slick. You're not gonna find flat character faces. Everyone's face is well defined. Their noses, everything is well defined. Oh, that thing in the background, that's just flat. They just kind of gave up partway through. No, everything has shape and depth. It is so well done. How does this stack up as a 3D story, though? Well, like I said, the first half of this movie is a love story, and the second half is an action movie slash thriller slash horror movie. The second half, I would say, is worth the 3D. The first half is kind of like, you kind of gotta get through that to get to the action and stuff. But I will say that once you do get to the action, the 3D really shines, and it feels like you're more part of the action when you see it like that. Whenever there is a shot, there's sometimes bird's eye view shots looking down from like characters standing on the ship, and you can look down and see the water. One of the things that this movie does really, or at least the 3D does extremely well, is just show how big and high up this ship is and how far away the ocean is and just how expansive it is. It just goes on forever. There were some shots of characters walking along the deck, and you look past them into the water, and the water's just so far away. It really makes you feel the size and scope, and that's one of the great things about 3D, is that it can do those things very well. But this movie was shot with 2D in mind, and how does the cinematography lend itself to the 3D? Well, outside of the shots with the bird's eye view, you're not really going to get a whole bunch of negative parallax shots. You're not going to get things coming out of the camera. I think there were 2 shots that I made a mental note of in my head where something was probably deliberately stereoized so that it would come out farther than it normally might when they were shooting it. And one of those is the funnel collapse. There's a shot where the funnel just comes down on top of the camera, where they push the funnel out so it feels like it's going to crush your face. And the second is when the Heart of the Ocean diamond is tossed into the water at the end, and it floats down, and that actually has some good negative parallax on it, some good pop out coming out to your face. You really feel like you're gonna get whacked in the face by this thing. Anyway, thank you guys for checking this video out. I really appreciate it, and I will be seeing you guys next week for the release of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I'm looking forward to that. Peace out.
That really sucks, lady!